that BC property assessment notice just landed in your mailbox. And maybe that big number inside was, well, a bit of a shock. In this quick guide, we're going to break down exactly what you can do about it, step by step.
The most important thing for you to know right now is that you are on the clock. You have a hard deadline of January 31st to file a formal appeal. So think of this as your playbook to understand the rules and make a really smart decision.
We're going to start with what to do before you even file an appeal. Then, we'll climb the 2 levels of the appeal ladder, cover how to build a rock-solid case with evidence, and finally, we'll look at the real-world numbers to help manage your expectations. Before you jump headfirst into the formal process, there's some critical homework you need to do. These first moves can sometimes solve the entire problem without you ever needing to file a single piece of paper. The key here is to start simple. First, just grab your notice and check it for basic errors. Is the lot size right? The number of bathrooms? You'd be surprised. Second, hop onto the bcassessment.ca website and use their eValueBC tool. It lets you click around on neighboring properties to see how your assessment stacks up. And third, if you spot a mistake or a weird discrepancy, make the call. And that phone call brings us to the informal review. It's really just a conversation with an appraiser. If they've made a simple mistake, like listing a finished basement that you don't actually have, they can often correct it right there on the spot. You have to do this before that January 31st deadline, and it really could be the simplest fix. Okay, now for the single biggest mistake people make. Your appeal has to be about the market value of your property as of last July 1st. It has nothing, and I mean nothing, to do with whether you can afford the resulting tax bill. Arguing about your taxes is an automatic dead end. So, what if that informal chat doesn't solve the problem? Well, that's when you have to file a formal appeal. And this process has 2 very distinct levels, which we're calling the appeal ladder. Following this timeline is absolutely critical. Notice the key dates here. Your assessment is based on the market value on July 1st of last year. The big one is January 31st. That's the deadline for your first level appeal. If that doesn't go your way, you have until April 30th to take it to the next level. And believe me, these dates are not suggestions, they are absolute. So here's how the 2 levels break down. Level 1, the PARP, is totally free and pretty informal. Think of it like a 30-minute meeting where you present your case. If you're not satisfied, you can then escalate to Level 2, the PAB. Now this one is a more formal quasi-judicial process, and it comes with a small filing fee, usually around $30. All right, now we're at the most important part. Whether you're at Level 1 or Level 2, it doesn't matter. Your opinion of what your home is worth, it means nothing. The only thing that matters is the evidence you bring to the table. So what's your best evidence? Well, there are really 3 main types. First, and this is the gold standard, find 3 to 5 sales of comparable homes that sold near last year's July 1st valuation date. Second, you can argue for equity. You do this by showing that identical houses right in your neighborhood are assessed for less. And third, document any negative factors. Does your home back onto a super loud highway or have a nasty crack in the foundation? Take pictures. Photos are absolutely crucial proof. And here are the common traps to avoid. We've already hammered on the tax argument, so don't do that. Also, don't bring in sales data from this month. It has to be from around July 1st of last year. Don't miss that deadline. And finally, you can't just make vague complaints. Simply saying it's unfair is going to get you nowhere. You need specific, factual evidence. Okay, so what are your actual chances of success? Let's ground this whole thing in reality by looking at the numbers behind the appeal process. This really helps set some realistic expectations. First off, it's really important to know that you'd be in the minority here. Less than 1% of all property owners in British Columbia ever file a formal appeal. The vast, vast majority accept their assessment as is. But what happens if you do appeal and you take it all the way to that second level? The numbers here are actually pretty surprising and overwhelming. 92% of those cases are settled or withdrawn before they ever even get to a formal hearing. Only 8% actually go to a full formal decision. So what does all this data tell us? Well, here's the key takeaway. If you build a strong case that's based on solid evidence, like those comparable sales or documented flaws, there's a very, very high chance that you and BC Assessment will come to an agreement without ever needing that big formal hearing. Good evidence gets results. So there you have it, the deadlines, the process, and the proof you're going to need. You now have the complete playbook to decide if your assessment is truly off base and how you can challenge it effectively.